Well, Megs, we're going to have some fun on this show because whether you like it or not, it's officially NFL draft season in Cleveland. It's time to
Are
start talking about the draft.
we out of the
I'm kid-
hunt?
I'm only half kidding, but I honestly think they might be mathematically eliminated after this loss today. As you know, if you watched 31-29, your final score from Huntington Bank Field, Browns fall to the Titans, the bottom feeding Titans, and there's a lot to dissect from this one. First and foremost, I'll admit that I was wrong. I thought there was no way they lose this game, and they lost. So here we are, and we get to have a fun conversation about it here post game with you. Chance to vent with us if you want to jump in the comments section. Megs will throw those up for you. You can also head on over to brownsroundtable.com, get any of our written content, my column from postgame, which I kind of liked. I played into the Christmas theme with my column today with sort of the ghost of Christmas past and present and future and the Browns quarterbacks past of present and future. So that's something we're going to certainly talk about on this episode. But Megs, lot to dissect here from another disappointing Browns loss in Week 14 as they fall to 3-10 on the season.
Should we just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the 2-point conversion? Should we just do it?
I mean, I think that's where we should start because obviously, looking back, you lose the game by 2, and the decision to go for the 2-point conversion on the first touchdown, which, by the way, a lot of poise from this Browns team. You fall behind 31-17. It feels insurmountable. Shedeur Sanders, who we'll get to, and company lead 2 great drives down the field to hypothetically tie the game. But because Kevin Stefanski opted to go for 2 on the first one and failed, then he had to go for 2 on the second one. That also failed. And you're left with basically holding the bag on a game where you lose because of those costly decisions. So 2 straight weeks now where Kevin Stefanski's decision-making basically cost the Browns a win, or at least a chance to play for a win in overtime. And that is something notable from this matchup once again.
So do you and I'm not trying to be a dick about it. Do you get the point of going for 2 on down 14? Does that make sense to you? Why they went for it the first time? The rationale is this: that 2-point conversions are 50-50, right? Yeah. It's if you don't get one, you should get the next one, right? It's a 50-50 shot. It's a coin flip, if you will. So if you're down 14 and it's a certain time, all the coaches have different time thresholds. So if it's like 4 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever, right. If you're down 14, you go for 2 on the first one because in theory, right, if you get it, then you're down 6 and an extra point wins you the football game. If you don't get it, the thought process and the analytical thought process is that if you score again, then you'll go for 2 again and get the 2-point conversion the second time. Yeah. That's kind of the thought process behind it. I am in total agreement on that, by the way.
So here's the thing. I am somebody that understands analytics. I understand the point of them. I understand why they're used. I understand the importance of them. And I have no problem with coaches and teams using them and leaning on them in games. And there's certainly moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, I understand why they're doing this. And I understand the thought process as you just laid out behind why you go for it down 14. I'm glad you explained it to the audience as well. But this is where the problem for me lies with these decisions. And this goes back to last week too. Mm-hmm. When you rely so much on analytics, I think sometimes you lose a feel thing. Like there's two parts of this. It's like, yeah, analytics help you there's math behind and numbers behind like how games play out and certain situations and how it's going to go. So I understand why coaches rely on those things. I understand why they should be used. But when you rely so much on, you got to kind of balance the analytic part with the feel of a game and the feel of your team and all those different things. And here's my point on this. This Browns team, this Browns offense has been so putridly bad this year. Yeah. Maybe the analytics tell you, hey, it's 50-50 that you're going to get a 2-point conversion. But with this offense, how can you be guaranteed that it's even still 50-50 with this offense? I understand you have that wildcat that you love and it's tended to work for you in that area of the field. I get all those things. But you just, in a game like that, you can't take chances like that when your team is already behind the 8 ball when it comes to trying to win football games offensively. They're so anemic. How do you just rely on the numbers in that situation? I get what you're saying. I get why you do it. I'm not saying that it's the wrong thing from an analytic standpoint. I'm dumbfounded by how for 2 straight weeks, the Kevin Stefanski basically leaned on the analytics and only the analytics when he knows the shortcomings of his football team. That's where I have a problem with it.
I would also add too that it doesn't factor in a straight number that's in a vacuum. Okay, it doesn't factor in the momentum part of it too, right? Where the momentum, the negative momentum swing that you get when you don't get the 2-point conversion. And think of it like, let's think of it big picture in this offense, right? You score to go down, you're down now 7, or you're down 8 at the time, right? It's an exciting score, and if you get the 2-point conversion, it's this crazy swing. But if you don't get it, it's this crazy negative swing. And if it's a veteran teams can likely handle that. You have a very young team, and you're like, hey, that it takes so much for them to score, and it took a Herculean play by Shedeur to break a tackle and run it in, and it was awesome. It was all those things, and then he fumbles the snap, and I mean, almost. I don't know what happened, why the Titans defender just like stopped running, because he could have taken it back and ended the football game right at that point. But it was it's such a negative swing back. And credit to Shedeur and the offense to then get the football back and go right down the field again. But now your back's against the wall. Now you are like under pressure, and it's not Aaron Rodgers back there. It's not whomever. And they take Shedeur out of the game, and you put it in the hands of the running back, who's also a rookie, who ran a play for another rookie. And it's like they just all messed up at the wrong time. And you're just like, you're caught at the end being damn, you just wasted a historic performance by Shedeur because, you got a little too in the weeds trying to make the smart play.
The momentum thing is a perfect thing to bring up, Megs, because that I think that is my overarching point in all this. This Browns offense is such a disaster, or I shouldn't even say that. This Browns offense is already so hindered by so many other things. Lack of talent at wide receiver, offensive line play being hit or miss at times, injuries on the offensive line today, including Ethan Posick, who left this game with an injury. Kevin's confirmed it's an Achilles after the game, so that doesn't sound very good for him. So like another offensive line injury, so many things that have held this offense back this year. By going for 2 there, if you fail, you are adding to that. You are adding to something that is holding back a football team that is already being held back by a gazillion things. And that's where I can't agree with it. That's where I get frustrated, especially on the heels of last week. If this was the first time this had happened all season, it's like, okay, but it's back-to-back weeks now. You went for it on 4th down and 1 from your own 33 with the same sort of thing. Like, if you don't get this, you are making it harder on your offense that already has a hard time doing things to win this football game. They did that again this week. It cost them, and now they're sitting here at 3-10. So I understand, like, the cliche is, oh, well, one play didn't cost us the football game and all this different stuff. But, like, in these instances, yes, here's what I always like to say about that, though, when coaches say that. This is the NFL. Teams win games in the margins. It's what I've been saying since the beginning of the year when people have thrown at me, oh, hey, they're a few plays away from being 6 and whatever. Yeah, but the good teams win on those plays and win in those moments because they're good football teams. The Browns aren't a good football team. They don't win in the margins on those plays. And so when games are won and lost like that in this league, yes, 1 or 2 plays does cost you the way that those 2-point conversions cost them. If the end result was that you were going to only tie the game anyway with the second 2-point conversion, you should have just kicked the PATs and given your team an actual chance to win.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear it. And this is the conversation we have every week because for the Browns, it always goes the wrong way, right? And like that's what losing teams do. That's what bad teams do. They find ways to lose football games. And the perfect example of it is they're playing right now. And yep, exactly. They're driving to go tie the game against the Packers. The Bears are the perfect example of, hey, they were competitive last year, but they didn't know how to win football games. And they always would do stuff like what we watched today. And then they get a new coach in there with a new culture. And now they've become these fourth quarter heroes because they just believe in themselves and they have a new voice and all that stuff. And it's like, and they're able to overcome some of that stuff. But man, it's frustrating to watch, man. It's just frustrating because this was one where it shouldn't have been that close. We've talked about the offense all to this point. The defense got carved up. Special teams was horrific again today. Yeah, and if you got Spencer, we got to be. Go ahead.
Sorry, I want to get into those other things. I did want to play that clip that I put in here, by the way, before we get totally away from the 2-point conversion conversation.
Yeah,
because Stefanski was asked about it with a number of questions. Here's what he said to the sort of peppering of questions that he got about the 2-point conversions.
Yeah, not going to get into all the specifics, Jeff, but obviously did not go as we thought it would.
Did you make that call or did Tommy?
Yeah, I make every call. Shedeur
had the hot hand. Why would you take him off?
Yeah, it's a 2-point play. didn't come through on our first 2-point play. Got to the second 2-point play, we didn't come through. But that's on me.
Was that play call yours or Tommy's?
I'm responsible for all of it.
Kevin, on the first one, just I guess what prompted wanting to go forward in that scenario?
Yeah, it's a scenario that we talk about a lot. That's something that when you're down 14, feel good about the decision there. Didn't come through.
So obviously I asked him at the end sort of what we talked about in the beginning, like the idea that why go for it in that situation. You, I think, laid it out really nicely. Kevin's never going to give that much detail, obviously. But him alluding to, like, it's something we practice, it's something we like, it's a decision that we make in that scenario, I think was kind of alluding to that. But I think the real line that stands out in all that was he said, I make all the decisions. It's ultimately on me. And that's where I think, Anthony, I've gone back and forth on, is this regime going to be here? Are they not? And I'm still not 100% sold one way or another, because with this ownership group, you just never know what's going to happen. They might keep these guys around. But here's the thing, like, everyone keeps pointing to, you know, him sort of making it, Jimmy Haslam making it seem like they're going to give this whole staff a pass this year, and it's kind of like a mulligan year, making the comments about it's going to take time to find our franchise quarterback and all that. At the same time, during training camp, he also said it's got to be more than 3 wins that the team wins this year. Right now, they're staring down the barrel of another 3-14 season, depending on how the rest of this thing goes. You get the Bears next week, who are one of the best teams in the NFC. You get, obviously, the Bills. You get the Steelers. Like, this is not going to – if they lost this game, they can lose any game. And so this one feels detrimental. Like, this one feels like where the tide turns towards, I think they probably are getting fired. But again, all bets are off with this regime, so don't hold me word for word on that. I just feel like this was a loss you could not afford to have if you're trying to save your job.
No, when you're looking at this schedule and there's not a lot of wins out there.
Well, and by the way, Max, especially when you are part of the reason that they lost for the second week in a row because of your decision making.
Well, and it's funny too, because like if they get, and we have to be smart about this part of it, because this was an unbelievable performance. I thought Shedeur played so good. We'll get into Shedeur talk here in a little bit. But I thought he played really good. It's also was a bad defense. Like it's the Titans, okay? So it's not like they were playing. It's not like the point I'm trying to make is they weren't playing the best defense in the world. That doesn't matter. You still got to come out and do it, and they did that today, which was awesome. If they got this level performance on offense, or let's say 75% of this passing performance, they have like 5 more wins on their schedule, because for the first time – they had a great offensive performance, or a good offensive performance, with a terrible defensive performance. It's been so long since this defense has gotten carved up like this. I mean, the Browns haven't scored. I mean, they scored 30 points one time this year. They scored 29 today. Should have been 31. And it's like, yeah. And every other week, this wins you the football game, except for this one week. You know, the Titans had the Browns defense number. They used basically Myles Garrett's aggression against him and basically ran at him the whole game and literally carved him up the whole time. It was it just was unfortunately tonight was the one where it was like bad timing, wrong place, wrong time type of.
What was Max? Can you pull up? These gloves are supposed to have that like stuff on them where you can like still.
It's too cold.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
What do I need for you?
But I was gonna say, what was the end run differential between these two teams? Because I know at one point I tweeted this was I think late in the first half. The Browns were being outgained at like 97-5, like on the ground. Like it was bad. Like they could not run the football.
Yeah.
And we talked pregame. We thought that was going to be something that was going to be important in this game for one of these teams, if not both of these teams. And obviously that ended up coming to fruition with the way that it played out, because the Titans found a way to run the football. I think you're right. Like they clearly made a point in kind of going at Myles Garrett and using that, kind of getting him upfield and then running behind him and taking advantage of that. Maybe that's a blueprint for other teams to follow as well. But yeah, it was I think what was encouraging is that for once we're not talking about another ho-hum game where the defense had to do it all. The offense actually carried their weight today, so that's a good thing. But the defense picked like the worst week, the worst game to have maybe their worst game of the season in the way that they were playing. I also thought a little bit about like, how much did they miss Malik Collins today?
Yeah,
defense. That was another thing that kind of crossed my mind as well. But yeah,
which is amazing because, man, to answer your question, the Browns finished the day 20 carries for 61 yards and 1 touchdown. trivia question. Who was the leading rusher today?
Shedeur
Sanders, 3 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. On the other side, the Tennessee Titans, 35 carries, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard had 25 carries for 161 and 2. They were carving us up 5.5 yards a pop from those guys on the other side of the ball. But you're right. You couldn't help but think where, Malik Collins, hey, those interior defensive linemen, when you don't hear their name, you don't hear their name often. And then when they're out and you're missing them, you miss them really badly. And you could feel it today that they were missing some guys in the interior of that defensive line.
We got to talk about Shedeur Sanders. The fact that we went 16 minutes before we got to him is sad on our part and not a job well done by us. But, hey, as Kevin Stefanski would say, we're going to try to be better. So, listen, I think that we teased it, right? Like Shedeur versus Cam and whatever. Clearly, Shedeur won that competition. He was awesome today.
Yeah.
364 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns total, 3 in the air. And the rushing touchdown is one of the final ones that helps them sort of mount that comeback. He had the interception, which we'll talk about because that was about as brutal of a decision as you could make at quarterback, and I think he understood that after the game. He talked about it a little bit. But this is what I find so fascinating about this game and this outcome makes. Like, I was sitting there watching this all unfold, and as Shedeur is playing as well as he had, I'm struck with the thought. I understand the Browns felt Shedeur needed some time, and that I can wrap my head around that. But the fact that it took this long to get to him, and the offense looks this much better with him, and we know how good the defense has been, I did have the thought, like, what if they had started him sooner? So it's kind of like a Ghost of Christmas Past type thing. Like,
we're going all the way in.
The past quarterbacks, like, why did they start? Why'd they waste time starting Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel if it was just going to end with Shedeur sort of giving you the most juice anyway? And then I had like a realization, like, okay, well, in the present, it looks like they might have something here, right? Like they have Shedeur. This is what my column was about. That's why I'm doing this. Like they have Shedeur Sanders in house right now, throwing for 364 yards, and he looks like he maybe could be something there if he keeps getting better. And then but also you losing this game, you're in line to maybe end up with that first overall pick if you keep losing. Like they're going to be, I think I forget who else was ahead of them. They were the number 5 pick going into this week. I think it must have been the Raiders because they beat the Raiders maybe. Or no, the Raiders, I don't know. I think it's the Raiders.
I'll get up and make a thing right now.
But regardless, like you have a chance to end up with the number 1 overall pick and maybe have the rights to choose whatever quarterback you want in the draft, right? So that's kind of like looking ahead to the future. But do they need to draft that guy? All these things kind of intersected as I was watching Shedeur Sanders play today. And I couldn't help but sort of wonder, like, this team is in an interesting spot at the quarterback position, and this game played such a key role in whatever decision awaits them this offseason at the quarterback position. And by the way, it might be made by a different group of people who are working here. So we'll see.
So thoughts here. Let's start with the end piece there. According to Tankathon, the Browns currently have the number 4 pick in the draft. Ahead of them are the Giants, the Raiders, and the Tennessee Titans. Right behind them are the New Orleans Saints, who big one today. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shout out Baker. They beat the Bucks, and they're now 3-10. So they were above Cleveland in draft order. They're now below Cleveland in draft order. Okay, let's play scenarios here. Let's have a little bit of fun because, I mean, if Shedeur plays well and continues to play well, and you have an opportunity for Fernando Mendoza, and you call the Saints, and you're like, hey, we'll take pick 3, or you call the Raiders, and let's just say they fall behind them, and you'll take pick number 3 and another first rounder, or 2 more second rounders, or whatever it may be, and you go best available wide receiver. You have then 3 first round picks next year, and you're like, you could flip this whole thing around if Shedeur Sanders is your quarterback. You could really flip this roster around quickly and get a bunch, because let's tell the truth about tonight. Super rookies everywhere. Harold Fannon's the best player on this team on offense. Dylan Sampson was great. Quinshon Judkins is going to be your bell cow running back. Shedeur was really good. And then on defense, Carson's running around making plays and all these guys. If you could get this influx of rookies, there's a real world where you flip this thing very quickly and become a roster that has a lot of sustainability and room to grow together. It could get really weird. Yeah. That could get very interesting, man.
Well, listen, we don't have to answer the question standing here today. Should they take Fernando Mendoza or whoever, like fill in the blank quarterback that you might like coming out of this class, or maybe
we worked really hard this summer. All my boys, we worked together. They're my buddies. I love them so much.
Oh man,
I love that dude.
We'll have plenty of time to vet Fernando Mendoza, but we don't have to make that decision now. But what I think is interesting, and I talked about this week. I wrote a column about this week. Shedor's job the rest of the way is to make the Browns have something to think about. Like, do we have our franchise quarterback in the room? And then maybe you can build a roster around him. And I think today was a step in the right direction towards doing that. I just think it's interesting, like, where all this is going to intersect in 4 weeks from now when the season ends.
Dude,
and
it's actually
they're going to have to decide, like, what is our future at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field? Will Shedeur have done enough by then to feel like, okay, he's our guy, or will they still have questions and be like, we're going to take Fernando Mendoza? Like, it's just fascinating to me that all those themes kind of felt like they were hanging overhead in this one, and now it becomes an even bigger reality because you lose this game. Guess what? If the Titans get one more win, that's another team you jump in the standings. Mm-hmm. If the Giants get one more win, I don't know what the tiebreaker is with them because you didn't play them head-to-head, but, like, you might jump them in the standings, and then maybe you end up with that spot where you can take a guy. So I just find that all very interesting. But specific to Shedeur today, awesome. He was awesome. And, like, he was the guy today that I thought he'd be when they drafted him or when he was coming out. Like, he's going to put on a show. The accuracy was pinpoint. That touchdown to David Njoku was awesome. That the touchdown to Jerry Jeudy was another great throw, and, like, going through progressions to get to that throw and make it, get Jerry there and get him the ball and get him involved. Because last week, obviously, we saw the little conversation on the sideline. I guess it was more than a conversation, but you get the point. And by the way, like, I pointed out, those are the throws he made today were throws that other quarterbacks that started for this team this year just simply were not making. Yes. He's making those throws, and it's why he deserves to finish the season as a starter at the very least.
So there's so much good from today's performance. Like, there's and still not perfect, but so, like, you can see him improving, and it's so awesome. His ability and comfort level of stepping up into the pocket instead of spinning out. He spun out a couple times today, but there was also several where, hey, he thought about it and he was sitting back there, and instead of going out, he stepped up and found and you know what he was doing today? He did it a lot. Was he found his checkdowns. He got it through his running backs, and there was one specific one that I, like, got out of my chair. It was like that Leo DiCaprio meme where he, like, gets up like this. It was when he hit Jerome Ford on the right side. It was like 3rd and 9, and he checked it down to Jerome in a very quick way, and he threw it an accurate ball, and Jerome rips it up the sidelines, gets the first down. You're like, hell yes, dude. Like, that is exactly it. And he did all that stuff along with when he had to make the big time throws, he was making them. 8 different guys had catches today. 10 different guys had targets. Spreading the football to 8 different receivers as a rookie in your third start is awesome, right? That shows that you're not just locking in on one guy. You're going through your reads. You're going through your progressions and getting to the right spots. Today was so fun to just watch him. He was just doing all the right things, making all the right plays, and it was an unbelievable step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, listen, he was great, and I remain inspired by his play in terms of, like, what he brings to the offense. I think that's evident. If you have doubts at this point, and you're sitting there like, I still don't know if this guy can be anything. Like, just watch the games, man. Like, the offense just looks and feels different with him operating it. You can say he might not be the best quarterback of all time, or, like, he wasn't very efficient today. He was 23 of 42. Like, that's not great. But, like, at the same time, like, to act like he was just, like, ho-hum today would be just asinine. He was the best quarterback that played for this team all year today. And today is a type of performance that makes it a very interesting and difficult conversation for the Browns when they get to the end of the season and they have to decide, do we have our franchise quarterback or do we have to draft one? That's what today. That's what I kind of walk away today with. Wondering, questioning, thinking about. After this loss today, on top of obviously some other bigger picture things like, is everybody getting fired and all that, but the overarching thought I had was they might have enough in Shedeur that they decide, let's go with him and we don't need to draft a guy, but he's got to keep showing it. But today was a huge step in that direction.
And Germ, this is the perfect time. Like, we talk about him getting his opportunity. And yes, if you look at the schedule, if he would have came in after Flacco went down, you beat the Vikings, you beat the Dolphins, you beat the Jets, you probably can. get a chance with the Ravens. You beat the Raiders. So like there's some more wins sprinkled in there. But like he comes in, right? Struggles against the Ravens, fine. Plays okay against the Raiders, then struggles again last week. Comes out today, balls out. Now he's got Bears, Bills, Steelers.
Bears
Bang.
defense is good, by the way.
That's NFC North leader and NFC conference leader. That's AFC East trying to chase down, but could finish 13-4. And then that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who won today and are the head of the AFC North. Right? You're playing 3 straight teams that are legit. That if you can prove, like this is huge, like this 3-game stretch, if he can prove that he can play ball against Josh Allen and against the Steelers defense and against the Bears defense in bare weather, it could be all bets are off and like let's freaking go, man. And you can can change this roster around. This is a big 3-week stretch here for him. Yeah,
no doubt. I kind of wanted to turn the page ahead and sort of look at that next because it is an interesting stretch. I like at this point, I'm kind of going into it feeling like the Browns are going to finish 3-14 again for the second straight season. But like, yeah, maybe they steal one against the Bills, who have had their fair share of struggles at times. I'm fascinated to see like Myles Garrett versus Josh Allen's going to kind of be a who's who of matchups from an offense and defensive standpoint. So like that'll be a fun one. But yeah, like Shedor's got some tall tasks on his hands the rest of the way. We're going to get to see him against the Steelers. That's always a measuring stick type game. They're coming here too, so maybe you get like a snow globe effect type thing like you did last year. We'll see. Like, but like yeah, like yeah. The rest of the way for Shedeur, it's about building upon again what you did today, and if you get to the end of the season and you get more performances similar to this, or maybe not exactly like this, but like you feel good about them, and the offense keeps looking good, it will be a conversation, and that's the best you can ask for. But I think you also hit on Megs like. The other thing that felt like it stood out today was just how great this rookie class is once again. And that's 2 straight weeks of feeling that way. We've talked about these guys all throughout the season, but like Quinshawn making a lot of plays. I know he sort of botched the 1-2 point play. We don't really know everything that happened there. But like, yeah, he looks awesome. Obviously, he had the great screen pass that almost went for a touchdown. Harold Fannin, baller. The ball that Shedeur threw to him in the back of the end zone was incredible. Like those two have a great connection. Like there's a lot to like about this young up-and-coming group, and the rest of this season is essentially about what do you have in Shedeur, and what else can these rookies kind of show you in terms of building your foundation around them
and you have a foundation, Germ, that the real truth of the matter is that, like, guess who led the team in tackles again, by the way? Carson Schlesinger. But if you keep this veteran defense bought in, and they can see that Shedeur's got a chance, that will keep them invested. Like that keeps them invested because, and I think that obviously it's not going to turn into a playoff run this year, but that keeps them engaged. And I don't know the contracts on all of these guys, but hopefully that keeps them interested in being a Cleveland Brown, because like, okay, if Shedeur could go and be a guy, everyone's going to be focused on the Cleveland Browns. We're going to have a chance to win football games. We're going to be a lot of fun. Here's the plan of attack. Here's how we're going to fix the offense. And now let's freaking go. Because you're running out of time, right? Myles Garrett isn't going to be perfect, or isn't going to be the best player in football for much longer, So you got to keep these guys invested, and I think part of that is Shedeur continuing to show himself.
Yeah, well, and Myles, by the way, got one more sack today. It felt like it was a little home field scoring.
That was a half sack.
It looked like it should have been a half sack. They gave him the full one. I kind of want to ask Alex Wright if he was okay giving up a sack to give his half a sack to Myles, but he's at 20. Needs 2.5 to tie the record, 3 to break it. Chance to do that, obviously, starting next week with 4 games to go. He's certainly in the driver's seat to do so. But I thought he'd have a few more today. Cam Ward, by the way, still I think a guy like Shedeur who's like learning as he goes. But there was a few moments where like he was under pressure and like had some really good throws and got rid of the ball quickly. And I think the Titans certainly has something to be excited about there as well. So. Shedeur wins though the battle of Cam versus Shedeur, and it certainly made for a fun game. Like there wasn't a ton of people in attendance today, but I think they got their money's worth out of a game between 2 teams that had 4 wins coming in.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I thought I was going to get my bold prediction. I thought Jerry was going to get to 100 yards, but I did have him on the 76, 3 for 76. Obviously the big one, the big 60-yarder. Dude, it's just like this game should It's where we're at in the year. This game feels like a win. Like I'm sitting here, like I got to remember they lost the football game. How did they lose it? We didn't even talk about special teams. We'll save that for Wednesday or whenever we record.
Oh shoot, we should have. No. We got to hit on that real quick here because
it's horrible. I'm
They were
sick
bad
and tired.
again. There was a block punt in there. They gave up a big return on the opening kickoff. I was trying to think, like, there's one more thing we want to get to, and I can't remember what it was. There was the block punt in there. There was Gage muffing another punt that he then fell on, and so you get a short field. The one positive, Malachi Corley let the ball go out of bounds on a kickoff. He didn't try to field it this time, and so that was progress. But, dude, like, talk about, like, banging your head into the wall again. Like, we watched the exact same mistakes happen on those units again and again and again. Bubba actually, I thought gave a good answer when he was kind of asked about his future and, you know, if he had, and he said, like, yeah, I think I have the confidence of the organization. I don't worry about that stuff. And you can't as a coach, I get it. But, like, dude, if they're not going to fire everybody, I would be shocked if Bubba's back because, like, 2 years now of, like, just the same mistakes and the same things and the inconsistencies. And I know that's not all his fault. But if someone's going to have to pay the price, I think it ultimately ends up being him, unfortunately.
Germ, opening kickoff. Here's a trivia question. How many times have the Titans scored on their opening drive this year?
I'm going to guess 0 before today.
1 today because they started their drive at the 50-yard line because the opening kick went went untouched up the sideline. She's like, what are we doing, guys? And then the blocked kick was unbelievable, man. And that sets it right up. Like, there's 3 plays in this football game. It's that one, it's the block kick, and it's the interception. All 3 of them led to touchdowns, and you're like, well, there's your difference right there. And it's very frustrating that special teams continues to be a point of conversation. Special teams, we shouldn't say the word special teams. That should just be the way. It should be fair catches. It should be tackles at the 25-yard line. It should be guys doing their jobs. Corey Bojorquez, I love him. He's been in Cleveland for a while. He was bad today. Like, he is just not hitting the ball well. He's lost all his distance. He's got no control over coffin corner kicks. It's been frustrating as hell to watch the special teams, and it's cost the Browns now 3 games. Right, it's 3 football games it's cost them.
Yeah, at least, and certainly, I mean, dude, like I don't even know what else there is to say at this point about it. But I think it's a reflection on just the team as a whole, those in charge as a whole, that, like, these problems still continue to happen. Because Kevin would sit there and tell you, like, it's on me. We got to be better. We got to get these guys. He would say all those things, but if it's not getting better, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
So that's where I have an issue with it. But yeah, you like it's a broken record at this point. Like, special teams hurts the Browns again. Make that your headline for the next 4 weeks too, and I'm sure you'll be correct about it because it just continues to happen. Somebody's going to have to pay for that at some point. All right.
I'm pretty warm here, Spence. How are you doing? It's nice.
I'm getting pretty damn cold, so I'm going to wrap this thing up here real quick. Sitting here today, is this regime back in 2026?
I mean, it feels like it from our pregame conversation, but it also is like you can't go 3-14. Like, I do think Andrew Berry's back for sure because this roster is actually in a good spot outside of the offensive line. It's going to be hard to bring Kevin back. And I just sit here and I look at the Patriots and I look at the Bears and I see 2 teams at the top of each conference because they switch coaches and they have this new sense of belief. I'm like, the Browns are right there. Like, that is right where the Browns are. I am now leaning towards, hey, it should be time to look at a new coach, and that is taking me a while to get there.
I'd be shocked if they split them though. Like, I think they're sort of tied together. So I don't know, man. This is a game you could not lose. I think sitting here today, I think I'm saying they would. I'm saying it's probably like 55. I'll say 60-40. They get fired. But if they, next week it could be the other way again. The pendulum just keeps swinging for me because it's hard to get a read on this thing because I just don't know what Jimmy Haslam's going to do. And he seems inclined to trust these guys despite the circumstances. So we'll see. But today was a brutal one in that regard. Not brutal if you wanted them to have a higher draft pick, though. That's where the good news is for Browns fans today. You can celebrate that. Make sure you head on over to brownsroundtable.com. Have a bunch of written stuff over there for you. I'm going to do something on Stefanski talking about the 2-point plays and all that here coming up in a little bit, so we'll get that up. But also subscribe to the YouTube channel where many of you are watching this right now. Got 305 of you guys live, which is awesome. You can get post-game press conferences over there. A lot of good stuff from, like, the post-game locker room, podium, all that, where you can hear what people were talking about and what guys were saying. And obviously more conversations like this, our podcast, our pre- and post-game shows, all those things. So check all that out. Subscribe. We appreciate you. Join our community space. We can't do it without you guys, and we appreciate you jumping in each and every single week to talk about the Browns. So stay warm. I'm going to go get warm right now. Megs, I envy you right now in your nice warm house. It looks awesome.
I got my slippers on. I'm good, dude. I'm in good shape.
But in the meantime, guys, we'll have you covered again coming up here. Week 15, Browns head into Chicago, where it's going to be even colder for me to stand outside and do one of these shows. We will talk to you throughout the week. Keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with Browns Roundtable.